Happy Easter. I've got some thoughts to share with you on Easter, of the disciples, where we are now, and I look forward. Looking at the four Gospels in the New Testament, you've got Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. They all cover the Easter story. They cover it slightly differently, different angles, but that's not wrong, as it allows us to see a larger story and what Jesus and the disciples went through. We don't see the account through an individual's eyes, we see it through a community's eyes when we bring those four Gospels together. In each of the Gospel books, so in Matthew, chapters 26 to 28, Mark, chapters 14 to 16, Luke, chapters 22 to 24, and John, chapters 18 to 21. Leading up to the Last Supper and during it, Jesus is trying to prepare the disciples for a change. That life is going to be different, the same but different. And different isn't wrong. They were going to have to get used to different. What was going to be different? The way they communicated with Jesus. He was going to die and rise again. What did that mean? Uncertainty must have filled the disciples' minds. It took a prophet to raise the dead. They'd recently seen Lazarus come back from the dead because Jesus called him. But who's going to call Jesus? Each of the disciples had to lay down their hopes. Maybe they had thought that Jesus was in some way going to overthrow the Romans and their empire through military means. But whatever they thought, they were going to have to surrender to the new future God had for them and the new different they were walking into. In the early parts of the Gospels, when Jesus first met them, he had called them and said, "Follow me." Soon Jesus was going to go to tell them to go, make disciples, teach nations, heal the sick. Really different from the past 3 years of following Jesus. They were soon going to be Jesus to others and teach them his way. I think the day between the crucifixion and Jesus rising again must have been the longest day in the disciples' lives. Peter had gone back to fishing after an unthinkable denial 3 times of Jesus. He must have felt really crushed inside. Also, I wonder what the 11 were thinking about Judas and about the way that he betrayed Jesus after they'd walked life for 3 years with them. Wherever, they'd all scattered, uncertain of what was next. Then came the news from Mary and the other women. Jesus' body had gone. The soldiers guarding the grave were in disarray and scared. There were angels, shining men, telling the women that Jesus had risen. What heady news that was. So much to take in. Yeah, the penny was dropping, and that moment, that's what he meant. The realization and understanding of Jesus' words was finally coming to the fore. The words that had not made sense prior to all of this, then in the following days, being scared when Jesus suddenly appeared, we walked through the wall or a door, eating breakfast with them, seeing, the disciples seeing Jesus, seeing his wounds, Thomas going, put your hand in there. Oh, yuck. But Jesus was raised from the dead, and he was real. Then knowing that different was going to be okay, that they were to receive a helper, the Holy Spirit, and that Jesus was always going to be with them. The past 3 years all slotted into place and made sense. Then at Pentecost, they were filled with the Holy Spirit, strength, boldness, and power to go and be Jesus to the nations and to other peoples. I've been thinking that the day between the disciples, where their lives were suddenly on hold as everything they had known suddenly came to a sudden halt. It's not unlike what we're experiencing now in this current situation. We're living out history, not for a long time as the world stopped and been so different as it is today. Living through this coronavirus shutdown, we each have a view on what is happening according to our experiences and our personalities. Introverts are probably loving having the time and space to themselves, while extroverts might be finding the social isolation crippling and are finding new ways to connect, or having to find new ways to connect. I just want to read you something that I read in a blog earlier today. It's from a guy called Steve Backlund of Igniting Hope Ministries. And it was titled, Freshly Surrender to God's Plans for Us. The coronavirus's impact has made our futures seem more uncertain, including that of our finances. This added uncertainty may make us wonder what life will be like in the next few years. Although this can be unsettling to our desire for security, these new levels of trust position us for a life and purpose in God we may not otherwise have considered. Just as Abraham was willing to sacrifice Isaac, his future dream and prophetic purpose, we have the opportunity to surrender our own dreams and plans to whatever future God might have for us. And as we do so, we will have the freedom in our spirits to arise and shine like never before. That was by Steve Backlund. I think at this time we have the opportunity to come aside and dwell on all that Jesus has done. It is a time where pause has been pressed for us. We are in a different season now, and when this season is done, another season will begin and a new different will start. What are we going to leave behind in this season that we don't need to take into the next season? What can we receive from the Holy Spirit for the next season? At the beginning of the year, we had a prophetic picture, a word that was, we as a church family would ride the wave that was coming. I believe that during this time, we will see God's hand move, and we will come out of this with testimonies and a new strength and a new sight to see the opportunities that God will highlight where we can be his hands and feet in our communities to share his love, his compassion. So like the disciples did, we need to get used to different. It is going to be who we are in this world. Thank you for listening. Hope you have a great Easter. Bless you.